Tanks are a very important part of every team. They are what allow you and the rest of your team to stomp the enemy team due to how much health they have and their damage output, allowing them to create space for the rest of the team to play in, making it much easier to secure points and kills and overall come out on top. Each tank does this in their own unique way, which is where we get the terms poke, rush, and dive from. These three terms are ways that the tank makes space for your team to play in, and they all work in different scenarios. At the minute, dive comps are a very meta thing to be running in ranked. DPS heroes like Sombra and Tracer are as popular as ever, with other heroes like Ashe, Sojourn, and Soldier climbing the ranks. But when it comes to tank, D.Va seems to be the most efficient pick at the minute due to her damage output and her different abilities, allowing her to stay in the fight for as long as possible. And in this video, I'm going to tell you how you can use her kit to your advantage in order to absolutely destroy the enemy team, putting the match in easy mode. But first, I'm going to ask you to subscribe and leave a like on this video, as I want to continue making Overwatch 2 related content that's not only entertaining, but educational too. My first piece of advice for playing D.Va is knowing the extent of your abilities. I say this in pretty much every guide I make, but it is one of the most important things to know when learning a new hero, no matter their role. With D.Va, you have a lot of damage output from your general guns and your missiles. You can fire these at the same time to absolutely melt your enemies, no matter if you're airborne or playing on the ground. But you can also fire your missiles whilst DM is in use. DM, or Defense Matrix, is by far your best friend when it comes to staying alive as D.Va, as this is basically your Reinhardt shield. The only difference is that it can't block lasers and it's on a cooldown rather than having its own health bar. It can, however, cancel entire ults, such as Zarya's Grav and Hanzo's Dragon, hence why it's such a useful part of D.Va's kit. If it's a projectile, you can eat it. Last but not least is her jetpack, which is a super useful piece of D.Va's kit, since not only does it allow her to get in and out of fights with ease, it also deals a bit of damage, so you can actually kill enemies with it if they're low enough health. My second piece of advice is focus diving the supports in the backline before doing anything else. As D.Va, you can easily win fights against the supports in the backline because of how good her damage output is and how much survivability you have from your DM and using your jetpack as a failsafe. Dive in with your jetpack, deal as much damage as you can whilst making sure to DM their damage and abilities, especially Sleep Dart and Anti if you're fighting in Ana. Hopefully kill the support and then dip, because by the time you finish fighting, your jetpack cooldown will be done and you can fly back to your supports to get healed up. If you need it, obviously. You might not need it, and in that case, you can go and kill another support or an isolated DPS. My third piece of advice is to know when and why to ult. D.Va's ult is one of the highest damaging ults in the game, so securing kills with it is pretty easy, but that's not what you should be using it for. Yes, you can secure team kills and win entire fights with it by using it aggressively, but using it as a failsafe is much more useful. When your mech gets destroyed, there's a short period where you can actually activate your ult whilst getting demech'd, which then makes it so you can get back into Toki instantly rather than having to get a bunch of damage to get him back. If you're lucky, you might even get a kill from doing this. You can also kill squishier enemies by calling Toki in right on the head, but I don't advise going for this. It's more of a if it happens, it happens, and you should be happy about it if it does happen. My fourth and final piece of advice for learning how to dominate as D.Va is to be wary of who you counter and who counters you. Now, you counter a lot of heroes due to DM consuming near enough everything, but as I mentioned before, you can't block lasers with DM or melee heroes, so just be wary when fighting them. Melee heroes like Brig and Ryan are a bit easier to play against because you can just fly over them with your jets and shoot at them from behind. Plus, you have a lot more range than them, so use that to your advantage. With the laser heroes, just aim to dive with someone else on your team so you can create the off angles and take them out easily. If you're fighting a Moira, you can actually DM Biotic Orb, so do with that information what you will. If you're fighting a Zarya, just be a bit more cautious and use your abilities when you know you can melt her, rather than her being able to melt you because you damaged her while she had her bubble up. And that just about does it for my tips to learning how to play D.Va. She's a pretty easy tank to learn because of how simple her kit is and how low the skill ceiling is with her, but learning to master her is a whole different story. You need to know who to kill, why to kill them, when to kill them, and what to kill them with because of your ability cooldowns. If your team is busy getting pummeled by a Ramattra who's been constantly healed by an Ana in their backline, it's probably best that you make sure they're doing okay and can hold their own before going in and diving the enemy Ana. Otherwise, you're just going to lose and your teammates are going to spam tank diff. You are responsible for how the rest of your team plays as the tank, although being said, if they're going 2 and 10 and just feeding, that's not really your fault, they're just a moron. But anyways, that's the end of this video. Once again, I'm going to ask you to like this video, as it lets me know that you find these videos not only to be helpful, but entertaining as well. Let me know if you have any requests for other heroes in the comments below, and subscribe so you don't miss that guide when it comes out. There are some heroes that I probably won't be able to make a guide on simply because I don't play them enough, but there are many heroes on the list that I can make guides on that I can't make guides on. Finally, have a nice day or night if you're watching this at night, and make sure to check out my other videos. Not only will I appreciate it, but you might too.